Yesterday, we got our first real look at what this Red Sox rotation going into opening day could look like, and it is definitely interesting. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and I cannot believe that we are less than a week away from talking about regular season baseball. It's giving me chills just to say that, and I am super excited. But there are going to be some really interesting decisions made within the next couple of days of spring training, the last couple of days of spring training, and most of them are going to have to do with what this roster construction is going to look like. One of the biggest mysteries so far as we move towards opening day is what this Red Sox rotation is going to look like come opening day. And yesterday we got our first glimpse as what that could look like, because we got an announcement as to what the opening day starting rotation for the Red Sox may look like. So what we're going to do in today's video is we're going to break down that rotation. We're going to talk about why guys are in certain positions, what's going to change, what'll stay the same, and how this is going to impact the first couple of games of the 2023 season. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button. Also make sure you guys have hit that like button as well. Helps these videos out a ton, would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Yesterday, Chris Cotillo of Mass Live tweeted out what the Red Sox rotation is going to look like come opening day, and here it is. It is 1, Corey Kluber, 2, Chris Sale, 3, Tanner Houck, 4, TBD, to be determined, and 5, Nick Pivetta. Now, obviously, there are a couple guys missing from here. Garrett Whitlock's going to miss 1 or 2 turns through the rotation before he's fully back. Brian Bale's going to miss 2 or 3 rotations until he's fully back, and honestly, I have no idea when James Paxton's going to be back. Rumor is he will be back pretty early on in the year, but I don't have an exact amount of times through the rotation or anything like that for you. But at some point, James Paxton will be in this rotation. I just have no idea when. So let's break down this opening day rotation, starting with Corey Kluber, our opening day starting pitcher. And honestly, I'm not too bothered by this decision at all. And the biggest reason for that for me is because Corey Kluber is not going to be the Red Sox #1 pitcher throughout the entirety of the season. In fact, I honestly think it'll be a pretty quick transition for Corey Kluber to go from the #1 starter to the back end 4-5 starter of this Red Sox rotation. Alex Cora made this decision to have Corey Kluber as our opening day starter back in January. And for me, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinions, the biggest reason for asking Corey Kluber to be the opening day starter of this Red Sox team had to do with Chris Sale, the #2 starter, right? And the biggest reason for that is it takes all the pressure off of Chris Sale to be the opening day starter. And not that it's just the opening day game and there is a lot of pressure to be good the first game at Fenway of the year, right? But to be ready to go for opening day. You are shortening his ability to fully get himself prepared and ready to go for the season by naming him the opening day starter early on in spring training. The idea was, hey, let's let Sale kind of pick it up at his pace, make sure he is ready to go and not overworking himself. And when Chris Sale's ready to go, he will be ready to go. And speaking of Chris Sale, let's break down his position in this rotation. In my opinion, Chris Sale is in the #2 slot basically for the same reason, right? He's obviously not the #1 guy because they didn't want him to worry about having to hurry up in his preparedness for opening day. But 2, it allows him to sort of rev up and naturally take that #1 spot back when he's ready to. It may be a couple of turns to the rotation, maybe a month or 2 into the season, but when Chris Sale's ready to go, putting him in the #2 slot makes it super easy for the Red Sox to just move him up 1 spot in the rotation and bam, he's back again being our ace. At #3, we've got Tanner Houck, and Tanner Houck's a guy who I don't think is going to be in the rotation for very long. He is definitely going to be a guy that when guys who are delayed in spring training start coming back into this rotation, he will get bumped into the bullpen. One thing to keep an eye on with Tanner Houck is that he's been a little bit shaky so far this spring. His control's been a bit off, and he's been letting up a lot of hard contact. One big thing I want to see from Tanner Houck in the first couple of turns through this rotation when he is a starter on this team is, 1, his ability to master a third pitch. He's been working on a splitter this spring. What is that going to look like when he's in this rotation? And 2, what does his command look like? Those are the 2 biggest things, in my opinion, to watch for as Tanner Houck starts the season in that #3 spot. Now, #4 is to be determined. That is by definition a giant question mark in this rotation, but we at least have an answer as to who that could be, because also part of the same tweet by Chris Cotillo, he pointed out that both Cutter Crawford and Josh Winkowski are going to start the year on the Red Sox opening day roster. It's just a question of which one's going to be a starter in this rotation, which one's going to be in the bullpen. What's up? This is Corbin from Editing Future here, and we actually did get an update on who is going to be that number 4 starter for the Red Sox come opening day, and that's going to be Kutter Crawford. The next couple of questions still remain the same though, so we're going to keep that in the video, but I did want to keep you guys updated that it is no longer TBD in the 4 slot. It is Kutter Crawford. Josh Winkowski will start the year in the bullpen. Okay, let's get back to the video. In my opinion, I would go with Kutter Crawford. He's had more success at the big league level than Josh Winkowski. He also has more experience as a starter at the big league level than Josh Winkowski. And I think overall, just in terms of pure talent, I think Kutter Crawford has a higher ceiling than Josh Winkowski. But in my opinion, it's really going to depend on who's more ready to go for that start come that day. It may be even a game time decision as to who's going to be the 4 starter in this Red Sox rotation. But if it was up to me, I would go Kutter Crawford. The bigger question here for the 4 spot is we probably aren't going to be able to fit Tanner Houck, Kutter Crawford, and Josh Winkowski in this Red Sox bullpen. My opinion, Tanner Houck is a lock for this Red Sox bullpen. He's going to be in it. But between Kutter and Josh Winkowski, who's the guy that's sort of the odd man out? They both have options, aren't going to have to be DFA'd to be sent to AAA. So which one of them does do that? Again, in my opinion, it's going to be Josh Winkowski, but it is going to depend on who has the better performances for the first couple of weeks of the season and who is most ready to go for the next start. They did both start yesterday, and that's probably going to have a big effect on who gets this spot in the rotation. Finally, we have Nick Pivetta. And Nick Pivetta, in my opinion, was a bit overhated this offseason. I think that there is some sort of plus side with Nick Pivetta being in this rotation, and the biggest one is his ability to go every 5 days. Was he very good last year? No, he was not a very good pitcher last year, but he was an adequate pitcher. He had a 4.5 ERA, a little bit above 4.5 ERA last year, and that's kind of exactly what you want from a 5th starter. Ideally, obviously, your entire starting rotation would be full of studs, but most of the time that's not realistic. And to have a guy at the back end of your rotation who can take the ball every 5th day, give you 33 starts in a year, and be relatively okay at keeping you within games every 5th day is a very valuable skill to have. So for me, Pivetta is actually a valuable pitcher, just not in the way of pure skill. Now, my problem with Nick Pivetta is once everyone is healthy and we are starting to figure out what this true rotation is going to look like, is Nick Pivetta the odd man out? I told you that there was some value in him being able to take the ball every 5th day, but skill-wise, he seems like the odd man out of this rotation. What do the Red Sox do with Nick Pivetta when this rotation is fully healthy? They do have the option of doing a 6-man rotation, but they seem kind of opposed to that so far this offseason, so I don't really know what they do with Nick Pivetta come 2, 3, 4 turns through that rotation, specifically when James Paxton is healthy. All in all, I think at the end of the day, this rotation is what we're going to see for the first couple of weeks of the season. Then we're going to see it shake up quite a bit. I talked about Chris Sale possibly moving up in the rotation, Tanner Houck's moving out of the rotation most likely, Kutter or Josh will be out of the rotation, and Nick Pivetta is a giant question mark. And I think Alex Cora and company are going to use these first couple of weeks of the season almost as tryouts, right? Who is performing above what they wanted to perform at, who's performing below what they wanted them to perform at, and who stays healthy. Health is going to be the key to this pitching roster success in 2023. And if someone gets hurt at the beginning of the season, that's going to be a big problem for this Red Sox rotation. But one thing I'm really impressed with this Red Sox rotation is that 3 out of the 5 guys who were originally slated to be in this Red Sox rotation aren't, right? Whitlock, Bayo, and Paxton, but this is still a pretty adequate pitching rotation at the major league level for this Red Sox team. Health is important and is going to be the most important factor of this pitching rotation, but depth is right up there as well. So the depth on this Red Sox pitching staff is really impressive to me. And again, we're going to see this thing shift a ton as we go through the first month or 2 of the season until guys sort of settle into their role. Let me know right off the bat, what do you think of this opening day starting rotation? Do you like it? Do you not like it? What would you change? What would you not change? And are there any pieces in here that you think are going to stick for the rest of the regular season? What are your thoughts in general on the Red Sox pitching rotation? Down below. If you've made it to the end of this video here, don't forget to hit that subscribe and like button. Helps these videos out a ton, and we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. So if you enjoy that type of thing, hit that subscribe button. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the red seats.